All right, here we go. Roll 2. Christian Comet in the house. Welcome.
Thank you, Sterls.
Welcome to the
Stoked
studio.
to be in the Traj headquarters.
Yeah, this is the shrine right here.
The shrine. I mean, look at this get up you guys got going on this wall.
Yeah, I know. This is the early stages though. You're one of the earliest members to come on board.
Stoked. Well, thanks for having me. Stoked to be here.
Yeah. So, yeah, as you know, when I bring you on board, you got a crazy story. You were one of Newport's finest. You have a lot of hobbies.
Tons of hobbies.
But yeah, I was just wanting to first was just get into it. Tell us a little about yourself.
Yeah, so, pretty much grew up in Newport right on 38th Street. So considered myself to be a Newport local, kind of romping the streets of anywhere from Point to Blackies to 54th River. It's funny when you grow up in Newport, you don't really need a car. Mm-hmm. So like my surf trips were like getting in someone else's car and going down to San Clemente or whatever it may have been.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so growing up in Newport Beach was, a blessing. It was cool, and I kind of took it for granted, So the second that you move up the hill to Costa Mesa, you're like, oh man, I miss getting the toes wet every single day before, going to work or whatever it may have been, or school, or riding my bike on the boardwalk to go to school.
Yeah, for sure.
Newportdale.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember we told the story before, but the first day I met you, which wasn't in the early years at all. Like I met you, probably was in college, and I was surfing river. We'll put that on the air. Yeah, we're surfing river, and I was paddling back out. I just got a left, and these two dudes were surfing. I didn't know who they were, and one was you, and this other kid, Sam Orozco.
Yeah,
he got spit out of freaking perfect machine-like barrels. Looked like Indo. He got spit out to me, and like wasn't the channel, but I was paddling up over a shoulder. It was back to back, and I'm like, whoa, who are these dudes? And yeah, that was the first time I met you.
Yeah, I remember kicking out that wave, and you're like, holy shit, that was insane. And then I turn around, and like Sam Orozco's on just a better, like, just grinder one that just kind of was like peeling off, and I was like, god damn it.
Yeah.
Always one up in me. But
yeah, that wave sucks. It's super
it's
bad.
It's not the best wave in Newport.
No, not at all.
Definitely like 32nd Street is.
Yep, for sure.
But yeah, growing up in Newport Beach, having the sand as my backyard is such a cool life experience, and being able to develop as a surfer, as just going to body surf with your parents as a young kid, to like getting pushed into waves on your surfboard, and then getting into like going after school and middle school with your buddies to like, oh, we're gonna go try to surf 52nd Street, like hopefully don't get kicked out by the locals, because back then the locals were so gnarly. Mm-hmm. And then progressing into being like, okay, like we're kind of like coming up, becoming one of the guys at 54th Street and getting more waves and big swells, like picking off whatever wave you want, mm-hmm. and calling dudes off waves, and it's super rad.
Yeah, like I've surfed Newport like my fair amount, but
yeah.
I'm not from Newport. I was born at Hogue, but I grew up in Huntington Beach. So like obviously Danny Nichols and those guys like I looked up to surfing the pier, but obviously I'd venture like everyone does. They venture to other spots, and I met like Andrew Doheny, Fort Archibald, surfing 54th Street. Like what's like, is it 54th is a spot? Is it 56? Like, is it just wherever it's good? Like,
yeah, it kind of depends. Like I consider myself to be like a 54th guy. Mm-hmm. Like I even have like a lifeguard tower tattoo on my body that has like a 54th Street logo on it. Is there a 54th Street tower? No, but there's a 52nd Street and a 56th Street. So,
yeah.
But really the spot is kind of, it depends on what type of swell is coming.
Yeah, for sure.
If it's a straight south swell, south-southwest, like it is pretty much 100% going to be better at 56th Street, where it's going to be rideable. It's not going to be a wall. Mm-hmm. But if there's a little bit of north in it, it's a more of a combo swell. 54th Street is like the best skate park wave that you can ever, get tubed, do a turn. It's literally like going over to Volcom Skate Park and, mm-hmm. and just doing a pump and then like doing an air out of the small bowl. It's so fun.
Yeah, there's so many people that came from that zone that are just have a lot of respect. It's so much different than Huntington. The waves are so much different. But like going there when I could and watching guys like you, Moisa, Who else? Gosh.
Yeah, there's a really good pecking order
Doheny,
out there.
obviously. The Dohenys, the whole family.
The whole Dohenys, like growing up watching Andrew do his thing and Brian do his thing, and it was really cool. Like the talent that came, even Ford, Ford Archibald was a huge name back in the day, and still is a really good surfer. And but watching those guys grow up, you just like, wow, like those guys are ripping. Like I want to surf like them. I need to put more hours in, and do whatever it is. But like the pecking order, in Newport is you have those handful of like core surfers, like the Nikolai Glazer, the Randall Taylors, like all those guys that have put their time in, like you'll give them any wave that they want.
Yeah.
And it's cool because that tradition has gone down, like now, like the younger kids, like there's a lot of young kids over at 56th Street now, which is pretty.
It's the same at the pier too,
which is pretty frustrating. But they kind of understand. Like, there's respect. Like, I will paddle out. Like the kids will be like, hey, shoot the shit for a little bit, and then I'll just like kind of act like I don't know them and start going on waves.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there is a good amount of respect until there's like these like transplant dudes that come in that just think they own it, and now there's like kind of like a Brazilian influx that's happening, which is it's bound to happen. Some are respectful, some are kind of like trying to figure it out and put a name for themselves, because if you think of where we are in Southern California, like this is where all the brands are. Like up in Costa Mesa, it's you have all the brands that you can think of.
I was just thinking back when I was a younger Grom, we used to do like the Volcom. What were the Volcom contests
called?
VQS
series.
The VQS series.
There's like the Starfish. There was like all those rad series.
What a time. And like when the contest came to 54th, that was like
that was the championship round. Yeah.
Like talk about memories.
Yeah.
And like the commentary and like the shenanigans they used to pull.
They had like a WrestleMania one year, which was so
Well, the
sick.
VQS championships was insane because the product toss was just unreal.
Yeah.
Talk about like the days.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember like Granger Larson winning it one year. God, I mean the names are endless, but yeah, your spot is like it has some serious legacy.
Yeah, I mean you look all the way back to Echo Beach days where it's like the hottest 100 yards. Like it's so cool to look back and see the Wave Tools epicenter. How like Danny Kwok and all those older legends. Sorry to call them older, but those legends that kind of developed Newport into what it is super cool.
Yeah.
And to like have Newport on my, surfing for Newport Board Riders Coalition. Like that's really cool and kind of like a badge of honor where like you can go around like, oh yeah, I remember seeing you surfing against like San Clemente. I mean, the whole Board Riders thing is a whole nother thing, but like it's cool.
Are you excited to see that thing develop to what it is today?
I think it's super cool.
Yeah.
Like I remember being a part of like the very first couple of contests where everyone was trying to figure it out and we didn't really understand, but somehow Newport was doing good, and then we were losing to you guys and HB, and then next thing you know we're in the same division as San Clemente, and we're just getting we're at battle with them, but just like losing every single time. So it's really cool to see a community come together, and doing the inner board club like events as well is super cool because it's special because all the Groms, they want to be a part of this team. They're chasing to be like considered to be top 4 of Newport or of Dana Point, of Laguna, or it's cool. And it's a community. It brings the surf community tighter, and it's like a give back.
Yeah, that's super cool. Yeah, much kudos to that. I just every time I get to go out there, and usually it's with you because I mean like I'll paddle out, but like I know my place. Like it's the same thing anywhere else. Like
totally,
you're not taking off on the first wave. I know we can talk about surf etiquette all day long, but yeah, it's just I know like a handful of people. Tyler Gunther, Bones when he was around.
Yeah,
the same thing. I just wait for you to chip me one or chip me into one.
Yeah,
I just wait. You're like go on this one. I'm like okay. I just wait my turn.
Exactly. It's all a respect thing, and like if I were to go to Huntington, it's like not like I'm gonna paddle out and be like I'm the guy of or like I'm top dog. It's like no, it's like let everyone catch their waves, start on the inside, and pick off a couple, and then get into a rotation where they understand that you can actually surf. Half decent.
Sometimes it's freaking gnarly too. That wave behind the jetty at low tide at like 56. I hope I'm not exposing anything, but I mean, like no one knows when it's on. Like you guys know when it's on.
Yeah, I mean, I've been dry docked on the jetty a couple times. It's pretty gnarly. It sucks out. It like literally gets basically below sea level, and you know you're trying to make it, but if you don't, like the rocks are
right there.
Rocks. It's you know the one that's if you're catching the left, the thing is 10 feet out past the jetty over to the right. You're like, oh my gosh, like didn't know that was there.
Dude, what's crazy, like just coming from a lifeguard perspective, like I came from surfing, that's where it started, but I'm a lifeguard.
Yep.
Is I rode on the rescue boat a couple times with like Don Gray, some of the boat captains over there, and like to watch like how that wave operates, and like a lot of those jetties around there, but the rips around those jetties are so gnarly.
Oh, it's brutal.
Like you surf when it's good in the morning when it's glassy and everything, but when it blows out in the afternoon, you have all the visitors and tourists, and they're just swimming waist deep, and they get sucked out in these mega death rips. Like, it is insane.
Oh yeah. Like for instance, he's a younger up and coming lifeguard, but David O'Keefe, like I've seen him do the most. I was just hanging out at 56th Street having a beach day, and I've probably seen him saw him do like 15 rescues by the time I was there for like 3.5 hours. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like running down to 61st because it rips, the way that it rips out, it'll take you out by the jetty and rip you down the beach, and like it just spirals you. And, he's just running back and forth, and he's like the most high energy kid I've ever known, like screaming the whole time and having a good time. Loves just doing this thing.
Sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're no stranger to getting tubed, getting coned.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
I love to be spending some time in the barrel.
There is a little photo on the wall.
Oh yeah.
Find some tube time.
Yeah. That's a funny wave, actually. It's probably my best wave I've ever caught at wedge. But basically it was a good swell. It was, I think it was like
we'll cut to the shot in the edit, but just so everyone can see it. But that is like, that is a proper pig dog left right there.
It was
anyway,
funny.
Sorry.
Yeah. So basically I was like paddling into this wave, and all I hear was like this, and like, and I was like, what the hell is that? But no one's actually saying hey. So I'm like, oh, I'm 100% committed. Drop in. I kind of like look over my shoulder, and I see a dude on a bodyboard with a GoPro in his mouth, like screaming at me. And I'm like, oh, sorry, man. Like I'm going. I'm in this. And get like spit out. And like, it was so funny. And like later on, get the video, get the photos, post it. Back in the day, there was like, a couple day delay. But, and he was like threatening me and stuff like that. Like, oh, it was so funny. He's kind of not like a big wedge look, but just some dude with a GoPro in his mouth, and I burned him. It's pretty rad.
Wedge isn't one of the most like, wedge is the most like one of the most iconic waves on the West Coast, if you think about it.
Oh, absolutely.
Like that thing just pumps. Like we got to get Starkey and some of the boys in here to talk about wedge. But
a couple of the wedge dudes would be super rad to get on the show and talk about what they see. And it's so crazy because being a surfer and surfing it is so much different than going out there with fins, and like the risk versus reward is pretty much the same, but like the body surfing, dude, like I don't know, I've been almost like full scorpion once on the sand, and it is so gnarly. Like kicking into them where you don't have to stand up and like you can like jump, like if you're just like body womping,
you're in it.
It's gnarly.
It sucks.
Yeah.
No, it's fun, but it hurts. I'm not like a big wedge guy. Like I grew up lifeguarding and stuff, and I can go into big waves, but like I never grew up and got pushed into body surfing wedge.
Yeah.
I
go
down there on a medium-sized day and have fun, but not when it's pumping.
Totally. Like I remember being at junior guards, and what they'd want you to do is like, we're going to run to the wedge and back. And like you run into the wedge, which felt like forever. You're like 12 years old running all over the wedge. And next thing you know is I just see like, it looked to be like just like Nathan Fletcher just get completely shacked, spit out. And you're like, oh my gosh. And then you start seeing the bodyboard, like all the bodyboarders or just body surfers. Once black ball goes up, they have the wave to themselves and they're just cruising.
Yeah.
It's the coolest thing. And, black ball, not the biggest fan of that, but it's cool to see how everyone will get their turn in a sense.
For sure. Yeah, I heard some rumors through the grapevine that like wedge is kind of there's some sand problems going on with wedge. I don't know if you know too much about that.
I'm not too like
Like rocks are
into.
getting exposed underneath and
You
they're
can see
losing
that.
sand. I can't comment on it too much because I don't really know enough. But like everywhere is losing sand. I know that.
Yeah.
I just don't know into detail what Wedge is going through. I'm pretty sure they're losing sand.
Yeah. Yeah, there's this one dude named like Dingo that is always down there and like videos in the morning and stuff, and he always gives like a little like update on what the sand's doing. And I mean, it's sad to see. I mean, there's so much movement. Each swell, it's each swell the sand is ripped every which way,
Yeah.
and it's crazy to see. If you think about the sand project in Newport Beach too, like they're taking sand from river jetties. There's a huge dip, like a crater.
Yeah.
At river jetties, and they're bringing it down to 32nd Street to try to expand the beach.
Yeah.
It's like, what is that doing?
Yeah. I heard this is a little off topic here, but I heard this theory which kind of plays out in my mind that like where do you think sand comes from? Does it come from the ocean? Or does it come
That's
from...
a good question.
This is like
I mean,
geography or...
it's full. Yeah, I don't even know. This
Well,
is like full science, life science.
Yeah, like
status.
sediment supposedly, it comes
It's
from the
rocks.
rivers. Well, no,
Yeah.
from the rivers.
Yeah, it's from the mountains.
Yeah,
and down.
and down. And
Yeah.
so, like, for society, like, Huntington used to flood all the time, right? Well, we've completely engineered the riverbed systems to be, like, concrete bottoms. And so, like, there's way less sediment that flows out into the ocean that replenishes the beaches.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be just one part of it. But when I heard that, I was like, oh, that's actually interesting, and that registers into my mind to being like, yeah, that might be true.
Yeah. I mean,
But-
sand comes from somewhere. I mean,
Yeah.
it's definitely coming from,
And we're losing it too.
and we're losing it.
Yeah.
So like with swells and wind, it's all like a factor
Yeah.
of how it's placed. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty trippy to think about. But
Yeah.
it's like
Everywhere's dealing with it. As a lifeguard, we're dealing with it. Like in Huntington, I know that just from all the years, like we have tons of photos of the pier, like around headquarters,
yeah,
from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and so forth. But
Yeah.
the sand used to be at the kite shop. That's where the berm line used to be and the water used to start.
Nuts.
And now it's out to Tower Zero, which is probably, I would say, like 50 yards, maybe a little bit farther.
Yeah.
That's how much sand. But if you think about the pier, this is how I register, is like the pier acts as like a giant, like, grading system. Like you have all this huge pier, it's massive with
Yeah.
all these pilings.
It's a
Like
block.
it's catching sand.
yeah,
But it comes and goes every winter and summer. It's
totally.
just like winter swells eat sand. Summer it brings sand.
Brings
And so
sand,
it
yeah.
just is ebb and flow. But yeah, sorry to get
It's a shift. Yeah, it shifts all over the place. It's,
yeah. But
natural
people are
occurrence.
losing it more than they're gaining. Like they lose it in the they gain it in the summer, lose it in the winter, but they're losing it more than they're gaining it, and it is
Yeah.
starting to becoming a problem.
Yeah, it's wild.
But yeah, sorry, that was a little bit of a little tangent there about sand and
Yeah.
science. But yeah, you paddle too, yeah?
Yeah, I do a lot of paddling. It's definitely one of those like hobbies that are a good pastime thing. And I've teamed up with the Ben Carlson Foundation. I've done a couple, long arm jogs, as I call it, which are basically the Ben paddles are, you go over for a great cause. You go over to Catalina and you paddle with a group of, what once started as, Spencer Purdy doing it by himself with like a handful of dudes. And the first one that he did was, he paddled there, did a marathon ran around the whole entire island and then paddled back.
Yeah.
It was like a 3-day event.
Crazy. That's
Absolutely psycho.
nuts.
So that was like a one and done thing, right?
Like kudos to
He was
Spencer
like-
Purdy. That guy has done so much for the community and he was a badass lifeguard.
Yeah, he is a huge staple and a great name in the community.
That's what I love about Newport, dude. It's
Yeah.
like the camaraderie, the people.
We have a lot of people that are
like-
there for everyone.
Yeah.
It's like we want to uplift, everyone around us.
Mm-hmm.
If you're down, someone's there to talk to you and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot.
Small, tight group, dude.
It's a tight knit community and it's really rad. Everyone's super welcoming too.
Yeah.
But back to like the paddling. It's funny how I got into paddling actually. I broke my foot surfing. It was like a small little day and did like an air and like basically did the Kelly Slater, Liz Frank tear, right?
yeah.
Where I did an air and I landed on my toes on my surfboard and my toes went back to my shin
Oh,
and broke all my metatarsals and tore all my ligaments from my toe to my heel.
yeah. Like instant, like you felt cracking
Oh my
and
gosh,
snapping.
it was like snapping, and then I felt like
oh
I
my
stood
gosh.
up and I couldn't feel my like left foot,
Yeah.
and then I tried to like push out, and then I
Mm-hmm.
just heard like the of all my bones. And after that happened, I was basically in a cast for 6 months, like a full leg cast for 6 months. Then I was in a knee cast, and then I was in a boot for like 4 or 5 months.
Dude.
And so I was like, I couldn't go surf, I couldn't ride a mountain bike, moto, no hobbies. And
Yeah.
I'm like a hobby centric dude. Like
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
always doing something.
Oh yeah.
And so basically, I moved back to my family house, which was on 38th Street, and I bought this like shitty little Eddie Velzy, like paddle board that's like for like bay cruises, and it's a prone. And I would just hop off a dock and like go paddle around the island.
Mm-hmm.
And then luckily that saved my arms. Like I was still able to physically go paddle and do something and get an exercise
well,
in.
Most people would get like crazy depressed and just lay on the couch and just be like, oh my God, F my life kind of thing.
Yeah. So I just like got up and got moving, and
Like you had motivation to do that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like it was funny. Like you'd have like these huge waterproof like bags that I was like vacuum sealing to my leg, so I could actually like get in the water and like dunk my head and feel like a normal human.
Yeah.
So I started with doing that, and then upgraded to a 12-foot vessel board, which, Vessel's a great company. Bark's like the top tier prone paddle board, but Vessel is coming up, and they have all these really good designs, 12s, 14s. Mikey over there at Vessel, he's created a user-friendly, cost-efficient board that is like that provides. I've used the same board for now 5 Catalina crossings. So, but basically worked my way up. My first year I did the bend paddle was on a 12-foot board, and I'll never do that again. Like everyone else was ripping 14.
The inefficiency is just
17s. Oh, south wind.
Yeah.
It was so brutal. And
that shit sucks,
you had to, it's cool that on these paddles, you really dig deep.
Yeah.
You get to like a dark place, but then you dig deep, and like once you touch, so it's cool because, long story short, but during the bend paddle, what they do is every 5 miles you take a short break.
Yeah.
You kind of all regroup.
Some nutrition.
Get your nutrition. You have your goos, or what I like to do is I like to keep like a little pack of baby food on my board. So it's like baby food, high protein, and then you're back. So it's a short break, like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So you do that every 5 miles until you get to halfway point at mile 17. At mile 17, you get off your board. Everyone, and they say some stuff about Ben, or a lot of the closest friends will say something about him, and you'll go around in a circle. And what Spencer always wants us to do is jump off your board and try to dive as deep as you can and open your eyes. And once you do it, it is the craziest thing
I've never
ever,
done that
dude.
before.
It is. You are literally like diving into pitch black darkness, and you're like like swimming down, and you're like,
I don't know. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it is pitch black, and you're like, oh my gosh.
I didn't know you guys did that.
Yeah, we get off our boards and dive as
Purdy, what are you doing?
Yeah, dive as deep as we can, and like this is in the shipping channel too. It's like you're like, oh, it's kind of sketchy, but we do it. And
as long as you have the boats around and stuff. Like we do something similar on the Veterans Day paddle with Danny.
Yeah.
But ours is more spiritual, and then like we get a rock from shore, we paddle to the middle, and we drop it, and stuff like that, which is really cool. But dude, I don't like when I fall off the board during that paddle. I'm like spooked as it is.
Oh, it's so sketchy.
I don't like that feeling at all.
Yeah.
And you just took it to another level.
Oh yeah, you get off your board and you try to dive deep, and I have a little thing that I do as well. So every time that I've done the paddle, I've grabbed a rock from shore.
Yeah.
And I make sure that I paddle with it the whole entire way,
Oh,
whether it's
cool.
putting it in my like wetsuit top,
Yep.
or whether it's you have a little channel in your vessel boards that you can stick it into.
Yeah.
And then I always give it to either my mom or my fiance Nicole, or which is super cool. It's like
for those who haven't like paddled, or just obviously the crossing is a whole nother tier, but like if you solo that thing, it is the most craziest accomplishment. Like I don't know how to describe it. Like it is the success from it, or like the feeling of completing it. Like when I drove the boat back from Catalina like last week or whatever, just solo.
Yeah.
Drive the Parker back from Catalina, and I'm like, damn, we freaking paddled this whole way.
Yeah.
Like it takes an hour in the boat.
It's something so cool to like. I still live in Costa Mesa. I see like at some point of every single day, unless it's like super cloudy, foggy, overcast or whatever, you can see Catalina.
Yeah.
And you can look at it,
looks
and be
close.
like, and you're like, wow, I paddled that thing.
Yeah.
And that's the coolest thing about paddling for a great cause is, later on when you have kids and you can be like, hey, did you know that I paddled that before?
Oh, for
like
sure.
I paddled the channel. It's something cool to look back on. And honestly, it's probably the biggest achievement that I've ever done in my life.
How many more you got in you?
I'm doing it this year, which is going to be
don't stop.
This will be my 5th time doing it. I want to do at least 2 more bends, and then I want to start doing the Veterans Day channel cross.
The Veterans Day is super cool. It's through open water, as you know, with Danny Nichols and team, and with Whitney and everyone. And like I've done both. I've soloed it before.
Yeah.
Very rarely, and then relayed more times than soloed it. But when you see these veterans and what they've gone through, and first responders, it's for both.
Yeah.
And like I had one guy on my team, and we got to the shore. He was a double amputee, and when he was crawling up the beach, like we relayed with him, and that was an accomplishment for just doing that for himself.
Yeah.
And we were all rotating pretty evenly, and he wanted to do the last stretch. Like it was super long. Like it was time for him to rotate out, like when we were all doing equal turns.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I got this. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, sick, send it.
Yeah.
And Jordan, it was his name. Yeah, we got to shore, and like you got the family there, the dad, like got all these people supporting us, and he freaking finished this. Probably did half of it,
Yeah.
without training. He didn't train.
Yeah, no training, but he has like the grunt, the
the grit, and he was crawling up the beach, and he was crying. I'm crying. It was that's a cool event. It's pretty much similar to the bend paddle, just in different aspects of
totally
what it's going for charity and stuff like that, or what it's supporting.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
No, I love the paddle community is also so rad.
Yeah.
Like
sick.
If you go for any small paddle or, just go for a bay cruise, there's going to be at least 10 to 15 people being like, yeah, go. Like, it's so rad. And, the cool thing that Ben does is they give you numbers and stickers.
Yeah.
So, I have a couple stickers on my board, and like, so when people see you walking across to go do my bay or consider it to be an ocean sprint or whatever it may be, it's cool that people are like, yeah, Ben did go, and you see stickers around. And
it's a staple for Newport Beach now. Like it is
a huge thing in Newport.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see how, the Ben Carlson has grown. And, the first time I did it, it was literally me and like 15 other guys. And now it's like 115 people physically paddling across the channel.
Yeah.
Which is super crazy. Yeah. Like that many people can do it, but also it's well conducted.
Yeah.
We've got the HB lifeguards, are heavily into it. The Newport Beach lifeguards are, directing the way. Mr. Carlson on the sailboat, which is literally our leader. Yeah. Which is something that you're like always just sick. Like looking at it. And you're just like, oh, please slow down. Like, like, is it time for a break? You're like, you're checking your watch, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's only been 3 minutes. It's great.
Yeah. And what a good cause too, the Ben Carlson Foundation.
Yeah. It's a great, and it also like, I've had so many new friendships from the Ben Carlson Foundation. It's so rad. Yeah. Like great dudes. Yeah. Everyone is trying to achieve the same thing, is give back to the community, raise money for a foundation, and prove to themselves that they can actually paddle from Catalina to Newport Beach.
Yeah. That's sick.
Yeah. It's super rad.
Yeah. I love that. That's super rad. But yeah, I mean, you're a plethora of hobbies, huh?
Yeah. I love being active, whether it's surfing, paddling, I have my ocean side, but I also have my land side.
Yeah.
Like I love getting on the mountain bike and like go and rip go rip a couple trails in Laguna, Aliso, San Clemente, even go up north or go hit bike parks and stuff like that. It's the adrenaline that you get of, like surfing a big wave or going for a long paddle. Another hobby is riding moto, racing desert or just riding with friends in local hills, which are not really local, but like riding out in Hesperia or like Lake Arrowhead. It's such a fun activity, and it's just rad, like going all out. Chasing ribbon, going all out.
Ribbon. Yeah, that was we signed up for a crazy race that was pretty much gnarlier than the paddle, the channel crossing.
Yeah, when I finished, I was like, A, I'm never doing this shit again, and B, I was like, this was the gnarly. It was the most physical and mental thing I've ever done in my entire life.
We got to give a backstory on this though, because I think the surf community and the like ocean community don't really know this, but like. It's funny, like you and I both have, and we have good other friends too that are in the same category, but we are all ocean heads.
Yeah.
And then we have this like other land dark side to us, which we ride dirt bikes, which is like those things don't really kind of mesh really well.
They don't collide.
Like they used to though. When I tell the story with Forrest all the time, like in the 60s, like Bruce Brown made two kinds of films. He made surf films and he made dirt bike films. Totally. And they were like, it was all cool. And then at some point in time, you had like the separation of like, I mean, maybe not, but I feel like they kind of distanced themselves. You had the surf heads, the surf turkeys versus like Meta Militia.
Yeah, like
and that's not to give Meta Militia
desert rats versus like full surfers.
Yeah, it's like two separate things, and then we kind of like brought it back together almost. I don't know how to explain that, but
it's the way that I think of like riding a dirt bike is, well, unless you're riding desert trying to go as fast as you can, but when you're trail riding, it almost feels like you're surfing. You're trying to put together the perfect line,
rhythm and
flow, and like getting up a hill, it's like doing a huge bottom turn and about to do a big snap. But it's like I got to get up this freaking thing, and there's rocks, and there's you're bouncing around, and you're trying to get to the top of this thing, and then you're like, you get to the top, you're like, shit, I want to do that again. Like there's nothing more rewarding than doing a huge hill climb and going to the top. And you're like, oh, that wasn't that gnarly. I'm going to do it again.
I love long distance, like just desert rides. Like you got rhythm, you're in your helmet, you're in your own head. You can't talk to each other.
Oh yeah.
You're just like, you're feeling the flow and you're getting from point A to point B, maybe having a little pit stop for a beer or burger somewhere.
Yeah.
But that is like the best. And we decided to do, we're teaming up on this one, but we decided to do this race called the Check Chase, which gets put on every year. It's a national hare and hound. It's just these long desert races for 80 miles. It's like 40 miles, then you pit, and then another 40 miles. But this year was the 75th anniversary.
Yeah, 75th anniversary.
175 years, right. But 75th anniversary.
Yeah.
And I guess they just decided to make it close to impossible.
Yeah.
To finish.
It was the craziest situation. This was actually my first moto race I've ever done in my entire life.
Yeah.
So like lining up and it was a bomb start. Mm-hmm. So like I have never seen in person. I've looked it up on YouTube. I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be crazy. This is how they used to do it rather than like a staggered start. And basically you all line up and there's literally 415 dudes or whatever it may have been that lined up that day to race.
Yeah.
And they literally
how many did you say?
I think it was like 415.
Yeah, that's right. It was like huge. They're making a movie about it.
Yeah, it was a crazy number of guys. And I'm like, still don't really know. I didn't really have any nerves, but I was like, what am I getting myself into?
I think we both didn't have nerves because we absolutely did not know what we were getting ourselves into.
And then next thing you know, they like false start the drop on the flag that says like go.
Yeah.
And people started taking off, and then I was like, oh shit, like go.
Yeah Your mic, you gotta screw it. There you go, you're fine.
Yeah,
it's the bottom. Oh, there you go. Well, you should be good. But we saw the fall start was insane. I was so like, okay, I'm gonna get ahead of this.
Yeah,
obviously there's pros and amateurs, there's all kinds of people lined up, but for whatever reason I'm like, I'm gonna get ahead of these guys. The fall start screwed everything up, but then we went. And then I was like, "Oh my god, this is gnarly."
You were literally riding in pure like darkness, dust, and all you see is like phew, phew, and like people are going at different directions, like, and you're like, I don't really know, but I kind of remember, like, you're just looking for one little line and trying to follow like some fast dude's line.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you're like, you do a turn, you're like, okay, clear. It's like a little bit more clear. People went the wrong way or whatever it may have been.
And we're just chasing pink ribbon.
Yeah.
There's no course. There's no pre-running course.
Yeah.
You're just chasing ribbon that these fools have set up for a month prior.
Yeah.
Like, kudos to them. It's
maybe it was there. Maybe the ribbon was there. Or maybe it moved. Like, who even knows?
Well, it's the coolest concept. Like, it's the oldest type of like form of racing on motorcycles. That's why I think it's so cool. It's,
totally.
Checkers MC puts it on. It's a motorcycle like race club or motorcycle club out in the desert. But anyways, yeah, it was 400 dudes all. And I was lined up kind of next to you.
Yeah, we were close.
And I'm like, I'm gonna pass this guy.
Yeah, it was so funny, and I don't know.
But then I lost you. I couldn't find you.
Yeah, it through the dust. I lost Sterling. I was trying to like keep pace with him because I was like, oh, Sterling, he's fast. We're both at like roughly the same pace, but I must have taken like a faster line and just like I started following these dudes that were just taking like the dry lake bed.
Yeah.
And I am like pinned as fast as I can on a 2-stroke, making the thing just scream. Thinking my bike's gonna blow up.
I thought for sure I was ahead of you the entire time.
And then
which is funny.
Towards the end of the first loop, I like was so exhausted and I am like physically drained, and like I thought Sterling was ahead of me, so I was like, I don't really give a shit. And like when you go on an uphill and there's 6 other racers in front of you, and
it's virgin rock gardens.
Yeah,
it ain't like trails. It's like you're hopping over rocks for the first time.
Yeah, and there's dudes stopped, so you're like, okay, well that line's gone, this line's gone, so you're like trying to figure it out, and then so I just try to pick a line and hit this really big rock. Bike looped out, and I'm like, oh shit, like cussing and stuff, like I'm over this shit, like I'm done. And next thing you know, I hear like Sterling's bike, and I'm like, what the fuck? I was beating him this whole time, and I'm trying to get on my bike as fast as I can, just like ripped it, tried to catch him, didn't
when
catch him.
When I saw
at the
you,
pits.
I was like kind of bummed, but then I was low key like, I'm about to pass Comet, like he's gonna watch this whole thing go down. I was psyched.
Yeah.
And then I came into the pit because the pit was like 5 or 10 minutes after that, maybe less than that.
Yeah.
And I knew I was ahead of you, and I came in. I'm like, oh, I did loop 1. Like loop 2 is gonna be I want to stay ahead of Comet. Like just give me some gas, and I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I'm good on water. I'm good on this. I don't need electrolytes. Was that a mistake?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So when I got to the pits, and I probably was less than a minute behind you getting into the pits.
Yeah.
And when I got in there, I was like, okay, I am drained. Like I didn't even eat breakfast that morning. I didn't really know what to expect. So I like took my helmet off, had a banana, ate a bunch of beef jerky, like had some electrolytes. I didn't fill my water, which is a huge mistake.
Yeah. I was asking for water on the side of the trail. Yo, you got water?
Yeah. So I was there for like 5 minutes, just like cruising. And then it was like, okay, like you're gonna go back out there. I didn't know if I was gonna go back actually.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm pretty like over this, dude. It's pretty gnarly. Yeah. And then I get back on my bike. I'm like, screw it. I'm just gonna do it. And I'm ripping as fast as I can. And finally, it was like a super technical rock garden that I finally caught back up to you.
Gosh.
And then
I was overheating.
Yeah, your bike was
smoking.
Bike was overheating.
Yeah, it was nuts.
And then I was like, all right, yes, got Sterling. And then after that point, I was like, I am going as fast as I can. And I fell like 6 times just trying to like beat Sterling, like beat you like throughout the whole entire race.
Yeah.
But
that was fun though.
It was such a good experience, and like
it's a marathon. It's literally like doing a marathon, but it's just a different sport.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Like endurance times 10. Like
but it's
your body
so
to
cool.
test.
It's so cool to be able to have, multiple hobbies where, you're a surf guy, but you also love and have like so much interest in moto.
Yeah, yeah.
And, like it's cool that those two worlds can collide and still have competitive nature in both of those. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Like paddling out and like someone back paddling you, it's like versus like someone passing you on a dirt bike. It's the coolest, it's all competitive.
Yeah. I keep going back to those old films of like guys doing the same thing we did on old Triumphs.
Yeah.
In like the 60s and just like, and nothing has changed. The format hasn't really changed except the bikes have changed.
Yeah.
And it's still hard.
It's hard as hell.
It's so hard.
I mean, the arm pump you have. And,
oh my,
you
I
know,
was seizing. My whole body was cramping.
Sore for a week.
Yeah.
You know, but it's fun.
Addicting.
It's addicting.
Yeah. We're not stopping.
No. No way.
Yeah. Well, shoots, dude. Yeah. Thank you for coming down.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
These are the first few bits that we're doing. And, yeah, there's so many awesome people in both our communities and all around wherever they come from. But like sharing personalities, sharing character, sharing stories. That's what it's all about. Thanks, dude.
Of course, man. Anytime.
Yeah. Just sling me into a couple 56
I'll tell you into a couple 56 lefts, dude. Yeah. Call you in.
All right.
Well, thank you guys so much for everything.
Yeah, Ryan, we're done.